Welcome, welcome everyone. Welcome. Come on in. The water's fine. I see a lot of familiar faces this morning, and more people are coming in as we continue. Hopefully, we have our SEIU Local 99 in the house this time. Yay! So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. This is our second session of the flexible spending accounts known as FSA and the Health Reimbursement Arrangement Account that the district office offers to employees. We are not at open enrollment yet, but you do need to know how to spend this money before the year is out and how to maximize it for your benefit. And so we have our guru, and I mean, she's a guru on the line with us today, and she will be presenting. That's none other than Andy Moglen from ASI. She is our account rep, and she is extremely knowledgeable and very, very nice. Um, uh, just all around great person. And she's going to do a presentation, and then we're going to open up the floor for questions. Okay. I do want to caution you that when you're asking question in the open forum, please be careful not to divulge or share with all of us any personal health or financial information. We are all governed here by the HIPAA law that protects our medical information. So I just want you to be mindful of that when we do open up the floor at the end of our presentation for questions. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Andy Moglen to introduce herself and start us off in our workshop today.
Thank you so much, Katrina, for the nice introduction and for having me here today. I'm
Absolutely.
really grateful to be here. I feel like education, as a former teacher, especially, I feel like education about your benefits is the best possible way to get the most out of them. And so it says a lot about you that you're here today, too, ready to learn as much as you can about these great benefits that LACCD offers you. I am with ASI Flex. As Katrina said, we're the administrator of your flexible spending accounts and your health reimbursement arrangement. You may know them by their acronyms FSA and HRA. We'll talk about each one in turn and how you can use them together as well to maximize your tax savings and get the most benefit. Let me go to my first slide here. And first, we'll talk about flexible spending accounts, which is a year-to-year account. You make an election each year, and you do have to make an election proactively. It is an IRS regulation because these types of tax savings accounts are governed by the IRS. They require you to make an election each year. All of your dollars that you set aside in your FSA are pre-tax, and you'll never pay taxes on them, not when they're deducted and not when they're reimbursed. You can use your flexible spending accounts to pay for your expected expenses. That's the best way to use them for expenses that you know you're going to have. You can be enrolled in any health insurance plan and still participate in a flexible spending account. It's not like an HSA. If you're familiar with HSAs, you have to be in a high deductible plan. But with an FSA, there's no insurance plan requirement. And there's two different categories of FSAs that you can participate in, either or both. The general purpose healthcare FSA, which does have a $300 minimum for the year and $3,300 maximum this year. You can use the funds that you put into your healthcare FSA for things like deductibles, co-pays, office visits, medical, dental, vision, prescription medications, and even all kinds of over-the-counter items. We'll talk more specifically about the types of things you can use it for. And there's also the dependent care FSA, which has a $300 minimum for the year and a $5,000 maximum. You can use this account for childcare expenses like daycare, before and after school care, preschool, and nursery school. As I mentioned, these types of accounts are governed by IRS rules, and so there are some things that you should be aware of. You do have to enroll every year with a new election. Your prior year's election will not roll over automatically with the FSA. You need to spend all of your funds during the year. There is a limited carryover allowance with the medical FSA. There's no carryover of the dependent care FSA funds, however. Expenses must be incurred during your period of coverage or during the plan year. You do not have to be covered under your employer's health insurance. As I mentioned, it does not matter what health plan you're on. It does not even have to be one that's sponsored by LACCD. You could be covered under a spouse's insurance plan, for example. You can use your FSA, regardless of who's on your insurance, to pay for your spouse and your dependent children's expenses. Your election does remain in effect for the full year unless you experience a qualifying status change event. There are certain events that would allow you to make a change mid-year, such as birth, marriage, divorce, but generally just anticipate that your election will be the same for the whole year. You can access your full healthcare funds anytime during the year. The funds are preloaded to your debit card, and your account is front-loaded with your full annual amount for the year. So if you elect an annual election, let's say of $1,200, you'll have $100 come out of each paycheck throughout the year, every month. Well, unless you're a 10 paycheck, then you'll have 120 come out. But on January 1st, you'll actually have the ability to get reimbursed the full $1,200 for the year, even though you won't have contributed that much yet. Funds remaining at the end of the year are forfeited, but as I mentioned, there is a carryover allowance for the healthcare FSA of up to $660. That's this year, and that does tend to go up each year, so that might be a little bit more in 2026. But for $660, you can carry over, so you can put in that much at least and not risk forfeiting any, even if you had zero expenses. But if you plan for the expenses that you know you're going to have, you can put in that amount and you can easily avoid forfeitures. We want you to avoid forfeitures because you're not benefiting from the plan if you put money in and you forfeit it. So just plan for predictable and recurring expenses that you know you will have during the year. Sometimes it helps to review your prior year's expenses as a guide. And be conservative. Don't put in funds anticipating that you'll have something that you possibly won't. And use our online tools at asiflex.com, such as the expense estimator calculator, the eligible expense listing. FSAstore.com is a great resource for over-the-counter products. Every single item, and there are thousands and thousands on their website, is eligible for FSA. You don't have to purchase the item at FSAstore.com for it to be eligible, but it's a good place to check if something's eligible, and you can go and purchase it somewhere else, such as Amazon or Walmart or any store that's convenient for you. And you can carry over up to $660 of healthcare FSA funds. No carryover for the dependent care, but most people who have child care don't have any trouble using up their child care funds. I know and this was a long time ago because my children are teenagers now. When they were young, I had child care and I participated in the dependent care FSA. It saved me so much money in my taxes. On $5,000, you're going to be saving around $1,500 for the year because most people have about a 30% tax bracket, but that can vary depending on your income between 25% and 35%. So it's easy to spend the full amount in your dependent care because childcare is so expensive. Now let's talk about HRAs. These are health reimbursement arrangements, and these are employer-funded health benefits that are used to reimburse employees for out-of-pocket medical expenses. All of the same kinds of expenses as are eligible under the healthcare FSA are also eligible under your HRA. However, you don't have to sign up for the HRA and you don't have to contribute to the HRA because it is funded with employer funds. LACCD contributes $1,500 each plan year to those who qualify. Employees who qualify for the health benefits and retirees are eligible. Now with the HRA, it is under a little bit fewer guidelines from the IRS and more controlled by the employer. So LACCD allows you to roll forward the entire balance from your HRA each year. This is really great because if you don't need to use it one year, you don't have many expenses, you can have it available to you next year. Just know that if you terminate employment with LACCD, then you won't get to keep those funds beyond that. It's only available for you while you are an active employee or a retiree. And you can use the funds for all of the same eligible expenses as the Healthcare FSA, which we'll talk a little bit more specifically about what those are. But the HRA also covers long-term care insurance, which in Healthcare FSA cannot. So it's not allowed under the Healthcare FSA, but you can use your HRA for long-term care insurance, which is also very costly. Now, as I mentioned, I would show you a little overview of some of those eligible expenses. These are the same expenses are eligible for your Healthcare FSA and your HRA. And these expenses are governed by IRS guidelines set forth in IRS Publication 502. And a full list of eligible expenses can be found on our website, asiflex.com. But this is just a brief summary of the types of things that you'll see that are eligible: prescription medications, office visits, co-pays, deductibles, x-rays, lab work, hospital bills, even mileage to and from your healthcare providers is eligible. The mileage rate is always published right on our homepage on our website, asiflex.com. This year it is 21 cents per mile, and round trip mileage is eligible. It's easy to claim mileage also. You don't need documentation for it. You just need to indicate where you went, when you went, and multiply times that mileage rate. Over-the-counter items are eligible, such as Band-Aids, sunscreen, and all sorts of products with sunscreen in them. Braces, such as wrist and knee braces, first aid supplies, pill holders, blood pressure monitors, thermometers, diabetic supplies, menstrual care supplies, and over-the-counter drugs and medications are all eligible. Vision expenses such as eye exams, eyeglasses, prescription sunglasses, contact lenses and solutions, reading glasses, and even LASIK eye surgery is eligible. Dental expenses such as dental exams, x-rays, fillings, orthodontia, crowns, bridges, dentures and adhesives, occlusal guards, and implants. And a lot of dental plans, you may know, does not cover orthodontia for adults, but your FSA and your HRA does reimburse in full orthodontia for children, teens, and adults. And hearing expenses are also eligible, such as hearing exams, hearing aids, and the maintenance for those hearing aids, even batteries. A little more in-depth look at some of those types of over-the-counter healthcare products that are eligible. No prescription is needed for any of these types of expenses, and they're all eligible under your Healthcare FSA and your HRA. On the left side, you'll see some general over-the-counter healthcare products. Things like, I won't read the whole list to you, but you might be surprised about fertility kits, breast pumps and accessories, home medical equipment like blood pressure monitors, diabetic supplies, first aid kits, even the kind of first aid kit that you might have in if you are a backpacker or camper or in your vehicle, hearing aids and heating pads, menstrual care products, that includes even the period-proof underwear, things like that, orthopedic and surgical supports, prenatal vitamins. Usually vitamins are not covered under an FSA if they're just for general good health, but if you are pregnant, your prenatal vitamins are also covered. And sunscreen and lip balm, SPF 15 or higher. It's not limited to sunscreen and lip balm, however. Any product that has SPF 15 or more in it, even makeup, the moisturizer that I use has sunscreen, so it is eligible. There are lots of products that are really great and they're FSA eligible because they have that sunscreen. On the right side, we have some of the types of over-the-counter drugs and medications that are eligible. Things like acne treatments, cold medicines, allergy medicines, diaper rash cream. If you have a baby, there's a lot of baby expenses. Unfortunately, not diapers, but baby expenses like baby monitors, baby Tylenol, diaper rash cream, baby Orajel, things like that. Nicotine gum and patches. If you're trying to stop smoking, that might be useful for you. Oral pain relievers, sleeping aids, topical skin treatments, and wart removers. So there are lots of different kinds. And as I mentioned, FSAstore.com is a great resource to check for over-the-counter items to see if they are eligible or not, because if they're on that website, then they are eligible. So now we're going to talk about the Dependent Care FSA, which you can contribute up to $5,000 to for the year. However, I think LACCD has a plan to go up with the federal maximum next year. So that is increasing thanks to the One Big Beautiful Bill that was recently passed. So look for that change and communication about it. Currently, however, it is limited to $5,000, and this is a household maximum. So you and your spouse, if you both have access to a Dependent Care FSA, you can't combine for more than $5,000. And you are limited to $2,500 if you're married and filing separate income tax returns. You can use your Dependent Care FSA funds for all kinds of child care expenses or adult daycare expenses if that situation applies. You can use it for babysitting while you're at work. That's a babysitter who comes to your house or a babysitter who you take your children to their house. Preschool or nursery school or daycare centers for young children. Before and after school care for children who are school-aged. Day camps, like a lot of people have now during the summertime when school is not in session. And care is generally only for children under the age of 13. However, if you have an older child, older than 13, or an adult dependent, such as an elderly parent who lives with you, and they are not capable of self-care due to any mental or physical disability, then their daycare is also eligible. Now let's talk about how to use the funds that you set aside in your plan. So you've set aside funds and you've got this money available and you've incurred expenses. Now how do you get that back? And there are lots of ways that you get your money from the funds that are set aside for you or that you've set aside in the plan. You can submit a request for reimbursement, sometimes called a claim. It's not like an insurance claim, though. It's actually really easy. We ask for 5 pieces of information and then a copy of a document, which is like a statement or a bill or an itemized receipt from your provider, or even your explanation of benefits from your insurance company works. And you can snap a picture of that and submit that with your claim through the mobile app. That's super easy because you can just take a picture with your phone. Online, you can upload a scanned document or a digital version of your document and submit that, and you'll get reimbursed. With the ASI Flex debit card, you have the funds already loaded onto the card at the beginning of the year. So that's a benefit because you don't have to pay out of pocket. However, use of the card is not always paperless. Some people think, oh, I won't have to submit anything if I use my card. That may or may not be true. We do try to clear as much as possible automatically when you use your card, but some expenses have to be validated with documentation. We'll talk more about that in a couple of slides. FSA Store Cardless Pay is a great feature that's proprietary to ASI Flex. You can sign into your participant portal and click the Shop FSA Store button. It will link your account to the FSA Store so that they know what your balance is. And then when you check out from FSA Store, you don't have to use a credit or debit card. you can just click to pay from your ASI Flex account, and it will automatically pull those funds and process your order and ship those items to you. Recurring direct pay and automatic reimbursement are both methods of reimbursement or using your funds for the dependent care FSA. Recurring direct pay pays your daycare provider directly from your account. Some providers will not allow this if they don't accept electronic payments. So in that case, you may prefer to use the automatic reimbursement option, which automatically reimburses you, and you just have to submit one form for the whole year. This is great if you have a recurring amount that you pay your daycare provider on a monthly or a weekly basis. They can sign the form just one time at the beginning of the year, and then you send it in and we'll automatically reimburse you every month for the whole year, and you don't have to keep sending in claims for the same amount month after month. And then if you prefer not to use the electronic methods for claim submission, you can download a claim form from our website and fax or mail it to ASI Flex along with your documentation. When you use your debit card, there are times when you will need to submit additional documentation, such as your itemized receipt or bill. We try to, as I mentioned, automatically adjudicate as many card transactions as possible. And across our book of business, that's around 80% of transactions that are automatically adjudicated. And there are 3 ways that a transaction will automatically adjudicate. If it is a copay amount that matches the employer plan that you're enrolled in, we get from LACCD your health insurance copays and your dental or vision insurance copays if that applies, and we match those copays up to 5 times every copay amount. And if that matches the card transaction that occurred for you, then it will automatically clear because it will assume that it's copay. If the second is if it's identified as a recurring expense at the same provider for the same amount each month. Orthodontia is a good example of this. I pay my orthodontist for my son's braces the same amount each month, and it's going to go on for like a year and a half or 2 years. But I only had to send in the documentation after the first transaction, and now every month that amount gets charged to my card, but I don't have to send in anything else because it automatically clears it since it is a recurring expense. And the third way, and probably the largest percentage of automatically adjudicated transactions, are those that occur at certified merchants where you purchase over-the-counter items who maintain an inventory system of eligible items. This is known as the IIAS, Inventory Information Approval System. And this is most large retail stores, drugstores, Targets, Walmarts, CVS, Walgreens, even chain grocery stores such as Kroger, Albertsons, Smith's, all of those grocery stores that have a pharmacy in them always participate in the IIAS. So if you purchase over-the-counter items at these stores and you use your debit card, the store has already coded the merchandise as eligible or ineligible, so we don't need any documentation from you to verify the expense. By virtue of you using the card for those items, we know that they are eligible. All other expenses that are for copays under other plans, so if you're on your spouse's plan or not LACCD's insurance plan, and any medical, dental, and vision expenses that don't match copays would require documentation. But it is easy to submit the documentation to us. The documentation just needs to include who, that's for whom the service or supply is provided, so the patient's name or guarantor's name, what, a description of the service or supply, where, be the name and address of the provider or the service or supplier or the supplier of the item, when, the date the service was provided. This shouldn't be the date it was paid or the date it was billed, but the actual date of service. And the dollar amount, how much you owe or how much you are charged for that service or item. So if you have an expense that's covered by medical, dental, or vision insurance, you can just submit your insurance EOB, the explanation of benefit statement, that already has all of this information on it. Or if you don't want to use your EOB or don't have it, you can use an itemized statement from the provider that has these 5 pieces of information. If something's not covered by insurance, then you would just use the itemized statement. For prescriptions that you purchase at a pharmacy or even a mail order pharmacy, you can use the pharmacy ticket, that little receipt that they give you, a printout from the pharmacy, or the itemized mail order receipt. And for over-the-counter products, you actually don't need all 5 pieces of information. When you purchase something over the counter, you do not need the patient's name. So just a cash register receipt will work because it has everything else. It shows what you purchased, it shows where you purchased it, the store's name, when, the date, so it must have the cash register date on it, and the dollar amount, how much the amount was. Please note, however, if you submit credit card receipts, paid on account or balance forward statements, canceled checks, or pre-treatment estimates, those are not sufficient documentation. So they do not have all 5 pieces of information on them, and additional information would be requested. There are lots of resources on our website. If you are currently a participant or looking to become a participant during the open enrollment period, I would highly encourage you to check out some of these resources, especially if you have any questions lingering after our presentation today. But I'll answer as many as I can. You can, without signing in, you can view the extensive eligible and ineligible expense listing, access the FSA store with thousands of eligible health products, and there's always a coupon for FSA store on our website as well. You can read frequently asked questions and the answers to them, use the expense estimator and tax savings calculator, view educational videos, view ASI Flex card information, and access IRS forms and publications. And if you are a participant, once you've set up your participant portal, you can access your FSA and HRA account detail, review messages sent to you securely, manage your personal settings, such as changing your username, password, bank account information, electronic notifications options. You can submit claims, schedule a recurring direct payment, and shop FSA store using the cardless pay feature. As I close the presentation, I just want to share with you our customer service information. You can always get a hold of someone during our customer service hours, which are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Central Time. So that is 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. for you on the West Coast, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturday. So that is 11 a.m. to, or no, excuse me, 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. on Pacific Time. And the phone number is listed here. You can also email us, asi@asiflex.com, and someone will get back with you within 1 business day there. But it's fastest to call us because you do have a live representative that answers the phones during those business hours, and you can always, about 99% of all questions that come in through our customer service center are answered on the first call. Okay. That is all I have for our presentation, but I look forward to questions you have and answering those questions if I can.
There are quite a few.
Great.
Yes, I am excited about that. I'm going to scroll up a little bit here. Some of them I tried to answer, but I want to go back over. There may be some confusion on your presentations, uh, different parts of it. One of the
Okay.
questions was about orthodontia. Does it include Invisalign? Will that be reimbursed?
Yes, Invisalign is covered the same way as orthodontia. You can get reimbursed the full cost of Invisalign when the aligners are placed, or you can get reimbursed like a monthly reimbursement if you pay your orthodontist monthly over the course of treatment. Either way.
And what kind of documentation do you need to provide as backup info to make sure it is approved.
Yeah, a bill from the orthodontist would work, or if you have a contract, a payment contract showing that you're paying on a monthly basis, that works well because we can actually just set it up. If you're not using your card, we can set up automatic reimbursement for the orthodontist since it's a recurring payment month after month. Or you can just use your card and document it the first time by showing a bill from your orthodontist or that payment contract treatment plan. Um, Proof of payment of that initial down payment and then monthly payments thereafter also works. Um, so there's lots of different options for documenting that expense, but Invisalign is covered. That's actually what my son has been doing, and it's been really nice to have that.
Okay. Then there's some receipts, even if they are listed as eligible on the item is listed as eligible on your list. They do not have the F or flexible spending account indicated on the receipt, and they're sometimes denied. Is there more information or further information that needs to be provided, although the item is actually on the list as eligible?
Yeah, this can happen from time to time if the merchant where you purchased the item did not code that item correctly.
Hmm.
So that is up to that individual store to code the items. And they do occasionally miss things because stores are getting new inventory in all the time. So if they don't allow you to use your card for it because it's coded incorrectly, you can still go ahead and purchase it and then submit it to ASI Flex for reimbursement. And if it is an eligible expense, as you said it was, then it would be reimbursed to you. Unfortunately, we don't have any control over the merchants and their inventory coding. So you might find that it isn't listed as an eligible item at one store, but it is at another. You could try calling the store ahead of time to see if you're looking for something specific and you know it hasn't been allowed before. But you can also just get reimbursed for it later if you go ahead and pay out of pocket for it. And our reimbursement process is very quick. If you are signed up for direct deposit, especially, you should have the funds in your bank account within 2 to 3 business days from when you submit that uh, claim for reimbursement.
Okay, here's another one. Vitamins on your FSA store. What if you go to Costco and will they be covered even if
Yes,
they are a different brand?
yes, but vitamins generally aren't covered. They're not listed on
Right.
FSA store other than the prenatal vitamins that I mentioned.
Ah,
Vitamins are covered if you have a specific medical condition for which a vitamin or supplement has been prescribed. And in that case, your card won't work for it. You would just need to submit your receipt along with a doctor's letter of medical necessity. And you only have to send the letter the first time, and then you can continue to purchase refills of your vitamins or supplements throughout the year. But we would require a doctor's letter to validate that the vitamins are medically necessary because the IRS says that vitamins and supplements are generally just for good health, general good health purposes. So they don't flat out cover vitamins. A lot of us are hoping that that's going to change as more and more people look to more natural types of
right.
healthcare and prevention of disease. And so they're on the right track with allowing sunscreen and prenatal vitamins and um, some things like that that are for prevention. But vitamins are not regulated in any way by the FDA or any other entity currently. So that's part of the problem. There's a lot of vitamins that are just sugar pills. They don't have any regulation to verify what's in them.
Okay, that's a good answer. Thank you for clarifying that. And then you mentioned letter of medical necessity. When it comes to gym memberships, please break down how that works. What paperwork do you need to submit? How do you get reimbursed for your gym membership, monthly memberships? What's the best way? Could you explain that for us?
Yes, absolutely. So if the doctor has prescribed exercise or a gym membership or exercise classes or program for you due to a specific medical condition, you would get a letter of medical necessity from that doctor. Then, if you do get a gym membership so that you can use the classes or the equipment, you can do it in a couple of different ways. You can either pay a monthly membership fee, which would be reimbursable to you. You wouldn't be able to use your card for that expense because cards only work at medical providers, not gyms.
Okay.
So you get reimbursed and send in your letter. Only need to send the letter the first time. And then each month that you make a payment to the gym, you would send a receipt itemizing, showing what it was you were paying for. If you pay an annual membership fee, and it's like for the coming year, then you wouldn't be able to get reimbursed for the full cost because those services haven't all been provided yet. So what you could do is you could just send it in each month for 1/12 of the annual fee, or you can let us know and we will automatically reimburse that for you on a month-to-month basis. So we can set it up on an automatic reimbursement, essentially. So you would go ahead and get reimbursed for any months that have happened, and then each of the future months you would get reimbursed for that month as that month takes place.
So we would have to call in for the automatic reimbursement.
You can call in or you can just list it on your claim form.
Oh, okay. All right, that's good to know. I didn't know about the automatic reimbursements because I do have a gym membership that
You
needs to be
do.
reimbursed. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Hopefully that answered another person's question. And then let's talk about the HRA. And you had made mention that retirees are able to use the HRA card. Uh, there, I just want to just preface this question or at the request for you to expound on this HRA, the use of the HRA card when you're in retirement. So those who are in retirement, and by the way, Andy, we're about to have a golden handshake, is what some people know it as, to entice people to leave and retire now than later. And so we're going to have more people who are before the age of 65 possibly retire, and they have money left on their HRA card in retirement. Plus, they're not 65 yet, and they will continue to receive whatever the district board of trustees approves as the contribution amount. So right now it's at $1,500 a year. Every January we re-up another $1,500. So they'll continue that up to the age of 65. The question is, what happens at age 65?
At age 65,
Yes, and they have this HRA card and they still have money there, but the district is no longer, you know, putting more money
funding.
on the
Yeah.
funding. Do they get to use that card? What happens
So,
to that
yeah.
card?
Exactly. If they have funds left, they won't be receiving any new funding for their HRA, but any remaining funds they can spend down, and those funds roll over each year so they can continue to spend down the funds that are left when they turn 65 until the funds are exhausted.
Okay, perfect. Hopefully that answered that person's question. But if not, I'm sure as these messages keep coming up, there'll be more to add. So what about massage therapy? Say you've had a physical injury and the doctor says that you need to have massage therapy as a part of your recovery process. How would that be, you know, set
Yeah,
up for
that's it.
reimbursement?
That is also eligible expense with a letter of medical necessity. So
Ah,
if
just that
you
letter.
Yeah, that letter of medical necessity is needed for several items. And if you go on our website and you're wondering what sort of items require that letter, here, if I can share my screen again, I will
Sure.
point it out to you how you can tell. So you should be sharing our website right now.
There you
When you're
go.
on the website, you'll see under the resources tab, which is the third one over here from the left, the eligibility list. If you click the eligibility list and you were looking for like massage therapy, you could go to the M's here and find it on the list. And when you click on it, then it's going to give you whether or not it is FSA eligible and if it requires an LMN, which is that letter of medical necessity. So you can see right here on this button, FSA eligible with LMN, HRA eligible with LMN, HSA, they're all the same eligibility, but that LMN, the letter of medical necessity, is needed for that item, whereas if you were to look up like mammogram, then it's FSA eligible, HSA eligible, HRA eligible, but with no letter of medical necessity needed, right? Because
Good
the
point.
mammogram is only going to be medical. You're never going to get a mammogram unless you have a medical need for it. However, you might get a massage just for relaxation or for recreation or just for the fun of it, whereas you could also be getting a massage for medical reasons. So those types of things that are dual purpose, where they have two different purposes for them, such as exercise, massage therapy, vitamins and supplements, those sorts of things require a letter of medical necessity. And you can check that right here on the eligibility list.
So I'm going to paraphrase this and correct me if I'm wrong. Um, for those types of things or questionable expenses that you would want to use your FSA or HRA funds to pay for, if there is, if it's tied to a medical condition that a physician will write a note saying that it is medically necessary for you to have this treatment or these items for treatment purposes or self-treatment purposes, then submitting that upfront to ASI then opens the door for your reimbursements or unlocks the reimbursement side for the individual.
Oh, yes, that's a very good way to do it. Before you even submit the expense for reimbursement, you can have your letter reviewed by ASI, and we can let you know if it is a valid letter, sufficient letter for the expense that you're wanting to make. We're always happy to do that. And you can submit it also and have it on file. And for most conditions, that'll stay on file for 1 year. Some are longer. If your physician says this is a chronic condition that will never end, then we can just keep that on file for you for however long you are participating. Um,
Oh, awesome.
just want to
That I
also
did not
point
know.
out there are some things on this list. I'm looking and notice that makeup, some people might go, what? Makeup's not eligible. So you have to click on it in order to learn about it. So these are just some commonly questioned things. So be sure and click on the expense and don't just assume that because it's listed here that it's eligible. Just wanted to point that out on the
And you
list.
don't have to sign in for to get this list to
No,
pull
you
up
don't
the
have to sign in. It's right there on the public part of the website.
beautiful. Okay, here's another one. Ergonomic chair, not for work, but for home. I have this issue as well. And a standing and sitting desk, when those that lift up. I never thought about getting one for the house, especially for us remote workers, right? And so my question is, how is that covered under our HRA FSA accounts?
That's a good question. So ergonomic items is listed on here, and it is FSA eligible again with a letter of medical necessity. So some people need them and some people don't. If your doctor says that you should get, maybe you have carpal tunnel or maybe you have back problems, um, it would be great if we could all just get them, covered under these types of plans without that letter. But it is these types of plans are
IRS.
intended to be used for, yeah, for medical expenses. So for those who have a medical reason, or if you can convince your doctor that it would be good prevention of a medical condition that you might be anticipating having, then that could also be, but they'll need to write the letter. And on our website, we also have under resources, forms and other forms, there is a template for the letter of medical necessity, which can make it really easy for your doctor to create the letter, because you basically write your letter and just have them sign it. It's pulling up now. I think it's delayed a little because of Zoom, but
Exactly. There it is.
yeah. So you can use this template. You can fill it out with your information. They can put the CPT code, though, which is your diagnosis code. Describe the recommended treatment and how the treatment will alleviate the diagnosis. If they've already told you that, you can fill it in and just have them sign it. So instead of them having to create their own letter, this template can be used, and that works really well for a lot of them.
Awesome. Now, what about mileage reimbursement to go back and forth to the doctor? Is that for any doctor or are there special circumstances?
Yeah, it is for any doctor, any pharmacy, any dentist, any eligible expense. The mileage to and from that provider is eligible. And it's very easy to claim. As I mentioned, the mileage rates are always right here on our homepage. Just scroll down to the bottom. And the medical mileage is not, unfortunately, the same amount as business mileage. We know business mileage is more like 70 cents per mile. But the medical mileage is really helpful because if you did have a few dollars, or it even adds up very quickly with round trip miles, or if you needed to travel a great distance, maybe you had to travel to the Mayo Clinic in Wisconsin or wherever it is, then your travel flights would be covered to and from, as well as some lodging expenses. So those types of things are listed in publication 502, but the mileage rate, just if you're traveling near you and you're driving your car for mileage, then you would use this mileage rate. And all you have to do to document is just indicate the date you went, where you went, and then multiply it times the mileage rate.
Okay, and
If
with
the
the
amount,
publication
oh,
502, is that the IRS publication 502? And Veronica, I see your hand.
yes, it is 502, and it's also linked here on useful links under resources. So a lot of things under resources, all of these useful links, and publication 502. Oh, there it is.
Okay,
Medical and
and
dental expenses.
Veronica, would you unmute?
Yes. So along the line of mileage reimbursement, are we able to do it in sections, like the first part of the year, enter all the mileage, and then the second part of the year, enter the what's remaining?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank
It's
you.
really great if you can just lump a whole lot together rather than doing separate entries for it each time. So yeah, that works well if you want to do it that way. And we do have a process that checks for duplicates in case you didn't remember if you claimed something and then you claimed it again.
Okay, and can you walk us through how to do the reimbursement one more time, please?
Yeah,
Thank you.
how to go online and get reimbursement?
Yes, because it's not like if I recall, it's not, you're not submitting anything, you're just writing in stuff. Am I correct?
You are submitting at least one piece of documentation, such as an itemized bill or receipt, but not for mileage. You won't need it for mileage.
No, I'm talking about specifically for mileage.
Oh, specifically for mileage.
Yes,
Right.
specifically for mileage, and the other things, yes, but specifically for mileage.
Here I think we have time, but I can just do an example here. I'll just do it under my account. So you click that employee login button. That's what I did. And then I put in my username and password and my security image. And you're going to have probably 2 accounts or 3.
Correct.
If you're in the Healthcare FSA, we don't have an HRA here, but it's exactly the same as the Healthcare FSA. So I would click to file an FSA, HRA, or dependent care assistance claim. They're all really done through the same form. So you just click that button, and then it tells you what your supporting documentation needs. But if you're just doing mileage, as you said, you don't need documentation. So I would choose the year that I'm claiming. It's the only one available right now because the deadline has passed for last year. It's going to ask me what plan I'm filing it under. So you will get to choose one of your plans, either your HRA or your Healthcare FSA. This is just a note saying the sequence has changed a little bit. Instead of uploading all of your documentation at the end, now you can upload your documentation if you needed to that went along with each date of service. So let's say that yesterday you went to the doctor. You don't have to put a last date of service. This asterisk says if there's only one date of service, you can leave this box blank. But maybe you went today as well, so you want to claim a period of time. You can do that too. And if you went to the same provider, let's say I went to my optometrist yesterday, and I went for eye exams yesterday for myself and today for my son. So I would put both of us, the name, whoops, let me type my name. And then you can put self and son together. You don't have to list each person separately. That's fine. And then on the amount, and I'm going to put mileage here just so they know that I'm claiming mileage. Then I would figure out how far it was to my optometrist and multiply times 21 cents per mile. But I can also claim the round trip mileage. So it's about 10 miles round trip. So I can either get really specific or general, maybe it's 10.3 miles. You can do that too. And then times 21 cents per mile. And then I can claim $2.16 here, just for that short trip. Add that to my claim. You do want to be sure that it denotes mileage so that it's known that you don't have to submit any documentation. You won't have any documentation for miles, and that's why. So you can just skip that part. You can say done. If it tells you they have to upload one thing, then you can just skip that and say done. Or you can upload anything like your bill. It's great if you can submit your bill and your receipt along at the same time. I'm not really going to submit this since this is not a valid claim for me, but
Correct.
do you have any additional questions about how to do the process?
No, I think I have it. So I'm going to list because I'm going to do for the first part of the year, and I'll list the areas like we went to Kaiser, we went to our eye exams, and then I'm going to list the people who went. And
Yep.
then I do a total. Perfect. That's all. Thank you.
Yes. And just be sure, yeah, you're welcome. Just be sure you use that word mileage in your description.
Will
That
do.
way,
Awesome.
yeah, it's clear that
Andy, will you be able to send me the PowerPoint that I can distribute with the video,
Sure.
with the
It is
recording?
the same PowerPoint I used before, but I'm happy
Awesome.
to send it again.
No, I should have it still. If I can't locate it, I will ask.
Okay, no
And so
problem.
there was a question on how to check my account to see how much funds I have left. And Andy just demonstrated that by going into her own account. You do
Yeah, I
have
shouldn't have
to,
stopped sharing so soon.
you do have to
I
sign
still have it
in.
pulled up.
Oh, good. Okay. You do have to sign in, and once you sign in,
Uh-huh.
then there's a way to open, and it will show you how much your funds have remaining, correct?
Yes, it's actually right there on the landing page after you sign in. Let me get back to the. Um, Oh, didn't like that. It's okay.
So you're signing in again.
Signing in, yeah, so we can show you the whole process. Right when you come into your account, so after you click that login button, it's going to give you a synopsis of your account right here, and it's always going to show the current year. Yeah, you can look back at prior years, but you'll need to pick which type of account you want to look back at your prior year. But right here, you'll see your current year's balance, how much you have left, what your coverage period is. So maybe you're somebody who started in the middle of the year because you were a new hire. Then your coverage period might look a little bit different. Oh, and mine is also different because we have a grace period with our plan. So yours would say through December 31st. Instead of the carryover, we have a grace period that gives us through March 15th to use our funds, but plans can't have both the grace period and the carryover. They can have one or the other. Your last date of file claims will always be listed here, so you know what your deadline is to submit any claims. You can see your debit card status active here. And then if you go into the individual account types, you can actually look at prior years if you wanted to see what your activity was last year or the year before. It will show you up to 3 years, but
Okay,
it will
that's
always
good.
show you
All right.
immediately
Another
what you've got.
question here. When submitting receipts for the purchases, say for instance, I purchased something um, on Amazon, and then I added the FSA eligible expense. Do I need to separate them and send only the receipt that shows the FSA products, or can I submit a combined receipt?
Yeah, a combined receipt is fine. And it's really helpful, though, if you have several items on your receipt, that you will just circle the ones that are FSA eligible if they aren't otherwise indicated. Now, some Amazon receipts actually show a list of the FSA, HSA, HRA eligible items. Amazon has an FSA store of their own. And so they do have a way. I don't know why their receipts look different. Maybe it depends on which Amazon you use or what type of account you have, but the receipts vary. So some receipts will automatically show that breakdown for us. But if they don't, then you can just circle the ones that are FSA eligible. And you can send that whole receipt, but obviously you're only going to be claiming the amount that is eligible. And that's fine, as long as we can find enough expenses on your documentation to account for that amount that you're claiming, then that will be fine.
Awesome.
And
Now,
taxes
what is
include, you can also get reimbursed for tax
for the
and,
taxes? Oh,
and
wow.
shipping. Yeah,
And
shipping
shipping. Ah,
if the item is FSA. If the item that you're being charged shipping for is FSA eligible. Sometimes it isn't clear whether it's the tax or the shipping is for, which item.
okay. How about hats that have a 50 SPF rating? Are they reimbursable?
I'm sorry, what was the item you said?
A hat.
Oh, a hat.
Yeah.
Hat is not eligible. Clothing is not considered an eligible expense. Yeah, even if it does provide some sun protection. Um, so no, it wouldn't. It would need to be like a health product or a sunscreen type of product. All clothes provide some degree of sun protection, but unfortunately, clothes are not eligible.
Okay. And just for clarification, we cannot file expenses from last year for this year, correct?
That's correct. The deadline is March 31st to file for the previous year. So that has passed for last year.
Okay. And what are the amounts that we can actually sign up for FSA? I know HRA is set, it's the 1500 that the district contributes. But
Mhm.
say, for instance, we want to do the flexible spending and maybe a dependent care. And the dependent care is for whether a child or a dependent parent. I'm
Yes,
asking.
the
So would you,
maximum amounts.
Yes.
The minimum's $300 for both of the FSAs. So you have to do at least $300 if you're going to do dependent care, and $300 if you're going to do health care FSA. And you can do up to $3,300 for the healthcare FSA. And that's an individual maximum. If you and your spouse both work for LACCD, or you both have employer with access to FSA, then you can combine for up to $6,600 in your healthcare FSA. But the dependent care FSA is a federal family or household maximum of $5,000. So you cannot combine for more than $5,000
Oh, that's good to know.
until maybe
Okay.
next year.
You're right. Exactly. Okay. What about yoga studio memberships? If a letter of necessity is from the doctor, is that eligible?
Yes. So if your doctor thinks that yoga specifically would be the best treatment for your medical condition, then their letter of medical necessity should just say that. If it says generally exercise classes and then you submit yoga studio receipt, then there might be a discrepancy and it could be sent back for additional, more specific information. So if you can just get your doctor to write a specific letter to begin with, then you don't have to jump through those additional hoops and get frustrated because the letter wasn't sufficient. So just have them be really specific. If you know that you're going to get yoga and the doctor thinks yoga is what is going to be helpful for your condition, then just have them write that in the first place. Or they could list several things. So we see letters that have multiple supplements on them. Some doctors or chiropractors prescribe multiple, lots and lots of different things. So exercise, including a home treadmill and these supplements, but they need to specify which supplements, vitamin K or glucosamine, have them name them and be specific, and also relate that to how that's going to treat your condition, so that
Okay.
your letter does not, is not too vague, and it does specify that.
And returning back to the gym membership, say for instance, or the yoga. Okay, say I want to pay up front for the entire year, or maybe it's a 6 months program that my doctor says, yes, this will help. I send in my letter of necessity, but now I've paid for a year. So what do I do on my claim? Do I say automatic monthly reimbursement?
Yes. So if you have a bill that's for the whole year or for a 6 month period, it needs to show that first of all. So have your provider list what the dates are um, of the service. So maybe your provider shows that you paid, I don't know how much yoga costs, $600 for 6 months of treatment. Is that reasonable? Probably more, but
Probably more.
probably more, especially in LA. But if you did pay
Okay.
$600, have them list that that was for the period of August 1st through February 1st or February or whatever it was that it's for, so that it can be matched up with an amount per month. So if it's
Okay.
clear that your bill is for 6 months, it can just say 6 months, or it can list the dates, and then it will just divide the total by the number of months. And yeah, if you request the automatic reimbursement, monthly reimbursement, we can set it up automatically as long as your bill shows that you are participating for those 6 months.
Awesome. Okay, so does FSA cover chiropractic massages, and will a letter of necessity be needed, or a prescription? What kind of documentation is needed? I go to my chiropractor. He says, okay, we're going to have to do massages, as well for therapy. Is Do I have to submit anything other than his bill for reimbursement?
Usually not from a chiropractor. If the chiropractor is the one doing the massage, even if it lists massage on his bill, it is pretty acceptable that that provider is doing it is medically necessary massage. So, I'm pretty sure that we generally just take chiropractic bills, regardless of what the services were. So if massage is one of the services, then no letter is needed. However, if your chiropractor is the one who is prescribing massage and you go somewhere else, like to a massage parlor, or a health or a spa, health club or spa to get the massage, then you would want to have that letter. But if it's done by your chiropractor, it would probably just be viewed along with a chiropractic service and considered medically necessary.
What about acupuncture? If it's
Acupuncture.
under,
Mhm.
is it a covered one? Even do you need a letter of medical necessity? But say you went to your chiropractor and they provide that service, what would you need to submit?
A letter of medical necessity is not needed for acupuncture. It
Oh,
is
awesome.
shown on our website as eligible, and it's never required a letter. So some
Okay.
alternative medicines, and acupuncture
That
is actually one that's listed specifically in the IRS publication 502 as eligible.
awesome. So that website is really an important area to click into.
Yeah, it will be
Um,
really helpful.
okay, even a sleep number bed. I see that as a question. A doctor has recommended that would require a letter of medical necessity,
Yes,
right? Yeah.
right. So that would probably fall here under mattress. Um, Mattresses are not considered FSA eligible because everybody uses a mattress, everybody uses a
Uh,
bed. So it isn't something that's, I mean, you might need a more expensive one than most people because of your medical condition, but because everybody uses a bed or a mattress, then it wouldn't be something that would be eligible.
okay. Now, would you show us one more time on your website here, the location for the letter, the resource for the letter of medical necessity that we can fill out and give to our doctor?
Yeah, absolutely. Under resources, and this is where we are right now, is on the eligibility list, but also under the resources, you'll find it under forms, and then you can choose claim forms or other forms. You want to go to other forms, and it is the last one on the list.
I'm sorry, how do
Complete
you
that.
get to that page, Controller? The
It's
page.
on is at
Oh,
asiflex.com, correct?
asiflex.com. Yep, that's the
You do
homepage.
not have to sign in.
Oh, I see the home page, and then you go to resources to get to the forms page.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Perfect. Thank you.
you're
Yep,
so
you're
welcome.
welcome.
Okay, and then also spouses. They if they're on the on your medical plans, they can also be included in your FSA.
Yes, they don't have to be on your medical plan. Your spouse and your dependent children, their expenses are automatically covered, regardless of what or whose insurance plan they're on.
Wow. Now that I did not know. That is
Oh,
great question.
well,
Okay.
good to
I
learn
thought they
something
had to
new
be,
every day.
yeah. I thought they had to be on your medical plan. Awesome. Okay. And
Well,
uh
I
mhm.
should qualify that because
Okay.
if we're talking about FSA, they do not have to be on your medical plan. However, if we're talking about HRA, they do. So it
Ah,
does matter which one we're talking about. But
okay.
for the healthcare FSA, they do not have to be on your medical plan.
Do retirees who still have their HRA card, um, do they qualify for ASI Cobra? That's a question I would not
Um,
think so.
no,
Maybe I'm missing
retirees
something.
wouldn't not unless they are under that in that 60 under 65 category with the HRA. So they could potentially qualify for HRA continuation through Cobra as an under
Okay.
65 if they had
Under,
been, yeah, if their employer had been contributing funds and they hadn't yet been able to use them, so they can continue their coverage period for a little longer by paying for COBRA. I think that's what the question's referring to.
Yes, okay. What about the dependent care plan? It's not a flexible spending account. It is a dependent care account, correct? How do they submit, are they able to submit reimbursement after the fact? And also, do day camps for kids under 13 and aftercare qualify for reimbursement?
Yes, that's correct. So to submit for reimbursement after the care is provided, because a lot of day camps like you have during the summer actually require you to pay in advance or pay a registration fee at least to hold your spot. So that expense is not considered eligible until the care is provided. So once the camp gets here, then that can be reimbursed. But at the time you make the payment, it is not considered eligible if the care hasn't been provided yet. So once the care is provided, then you would submit a claim. You can submit a claim. That's one way to do it. Just like we went through with the mileage, you would put in the child's name. You would put in their age is actually also requested with a dependent care claim just to verify that they're under the age of 13. You would upload your document, which might be your bill or your receipt from your daycare provider. Or there's also an option on our claim form for them to sign it. So a lot of home daycares may not provide you with any kind of receipt. And if that's the case, then they can just sign your claim form to verify the dates of service and the amount that was charged. So that works too. Here, while we're sharing the screen, I can show you.
Diane, would you unmute yourself and ask your question?
How do you know if you have a dependent care account? And if you do have one, how do you know how much is left in that account?
If you have your participant portal set up, it will show you your account under your participant portal, and it will show you your balance in there too.
So you'd have to go sign in at asiflex.com. And once you log in with your credentials, it's on the first main page that shows you what you have, what you're signed up for, and whether or not you have any money left. I can guarantee you my money's gone. Okay, so yeah, that's a good way to, that's the only way that you can check for yourself. Otherwise, you'd have to call in.
Yep, you can also call, but it's real easy to check online. I recommend that everybody who has an account, whether that's an HRA or FSA or both, set up their online participant portal. So I don't think I could function with my bank account without having, an app or wait, we also have a mobile app just in case I didn't mention that during the presentation, but you can do it on the mobile app if that's easier than going through a web browser. You can check your balance there, but allows you to interact with your account to see all of your transactions, to submit a claim, and just to manage things on your account. So definitely do that. Here's the claim form. As I was mentioning, if your daycare provider doesn't provide a receipt of any kind, then they can just sign in one of these boxes. In case you have two different providers, there's two boxes. And then just send this form in, and that's all you need. You don't have to get a receipt from them in that case.
And then
So it's for the flexible spending claim form.
It's also for, or HRA.
All right.
You could put that down here too.
And then to sign up for dependent care, when does enrollment begin for that?
Open enrollment starts this year on September 15th. But you would not be able to access the funds or the program until January 1, 2026. So, but you would need to sign up before open enrollment closes on October 10th. So CalPERS, we run our open enrollment for the district plans along with the CalPERS health program. They start September 15th. We're starting September 15th. They close October 10th. We close October 10th. And so if you miss that period, you have to wait another year for open enrollment.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Parking at a doctor's office, is that eligible for reimbursement?
Parking expenses at a doctor's let's look here. I don't think so, but let's see. Yes, they are.
Okay.
Parking fees for medical care or treatment. You would need a receipt though. So if you are just using like one of the apps on your phone at a meter or something like that, you might be able to use a screenshot as your documentation. They have a little booth, a parking lot with a booth, ask for a receipt if they don't give you one, because you would need documentation. It isn't like mileage where you can just claim the number of miles. The reason why that's acceptable without documentation is because it's easy for us to check Google Maps and see if that's a reasonable number of miles, to your provider's office. But there's no way to check, on Google Maps to see what the parking fee would be where you park. So do get a receipt.
Okay, and the 1,500 accumulates on your HRA card, even if from year to year, it keeps accumulating, not necessarily rolling over, but it accumulates. But when you retire, and correct me if I'm wrong, it then is accessible in retirement, those same funds, and you keep accumulating until you turn age 65. Any funds left after that time, you can spend down, and once they're gone, they're gone. Is that a good way to say that?
You said that perfectly. Yep, you got it.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. How do we get to the page with forms at the top that you showed earlier? And that is just going to asiflex.com and
Mhm.
hitting resources.
Yep. And forms
Okay.
is the first one. Claim
Okay.
forms is first. Other forms, that's where you find the letter.
Okay. And let's see here. I've answered quite a few of these already. Just the reimbursement. Okay. So how does reimbursement to a for dental treatment or medical treatment outside of the USA works? Can they make the claim or use the card to pay for medical services? So I think this is a retiree. I'm
Yeah.
jealous, but anyway, and they're out of the country and they want to use their HRA card.
Yes, that is no problem as long as the provider accepts the card. We can't guarantee that a foreign-based medical provider will accept a debit card from the US, but the expense is still eligible regardless of where treatment was received anywhere in the world. So some requirements, if you can't use the card, you can submit a claim and get reimbursed, and then you would just need to have the receipt or the bill from that provider in English, since we may not have a way to translate it accurately. So if they can provide it in English, or if you can provide the English translation, and the amount needs to be converted to US dollars.
Okay. All righty. Let's see here. Um, I see some things here. For the person who asked if this workshop counts as flex credit, you will have to check with your manager, but I do not believe so. Let's see here. Did we answer these questions? I think we've answered. What about Botox injections for migraines? Are they allowable expenses? And I'm sure probably with medical necessity letter, right?
Yes, probably would. So Botox is actually listed here. Um, so it says not eligible, but that is based on being cosmetic. So if you do use Botox for migraines and not for cosmetic purposes, then yes, just get a letter from your doctor indicating that he or she prescribed that Botox for your migraines, and that would be sufficient. It just says not eligible here, but that is actually that's specifically for the cosmetic, because cosmetic procedures and medicines are not eligible.
Okay, there was a question about being eligible for the HRA card, where to get it. It comes automatically when you're first eligible for it, and that is determined by the district. If you have questions, I want to refer you back to the Health Benefits Unit to check your eligibility for the HRA program. Okay. I'm going to drop their email address and their 1-888 number, their toll-free number in the chat for you to reach out to them. So I think, let's see here. The recording will be available. I see, along with the PowerPoint, will be sent out. Um, why the use of HRA can be deactivated when so would you explain the whole need for the substantiation of expenses and what happens when you fail, like Australia did a couple of times, to submit the substantiation of a purchase and your cart gets cut off? Could you talk about that?
Yes. So this is actually an IRS requirement. When they began authorizing plans to issue debit cards for FSA, they laid out requirements that the expenses would still have to be validated, and that some of them, the ones that we validate automatically, or clear automatically, the co-pays and the recurring payments and the IIAS expenses, those are all adjudicated automatically. But everything else has to have documentation submitted to substantiate. If you don't, the IRS says that within a period of time that the employer decides that the card has to be suspended so that it can't be used for additional expenses until those expenses are documented or verified. That does not mean that your account is deactivated. That just means that your card is suspended, and it's a temporary suspension. And as soon as the documentation is received for those expenses, for those transactions, then your card is automatically reactivated. The period of time that LACCD allows for you to submit your documentation is 47 days. You get 5 days before the first notice is sent, 5 days from the transaction. So let's say you went to the hospital, you had a bill, you used your card, the bill was for $149, random amount. So it doesn't match a copay. Therefore, we requested documentation from you 5 days later. If you still hadn't sent the documentation, 3 weeks after that, you would get a second notice letting you know that the documentation is still needed, and that you have 3 more weeks to submit the documentation or your card will be temporarily suspended. So 3 weeks later, you'll get a third and final notice letting you know that we still haven't received the documentation and that your card is being suspended. But if you still had claims that you paid out of pocket, you could submit those and get reimbursed for them. And that $149 would just be subtracted from those claims until you provided that documentation. And then that $149 would be paid to you. But in the meantime, your account is still active. Your card is suspended. But let's say you couldn't get the documentation, or that you actually used your card for an ineligible expense. Maybe you weren't a participant last year and you were paying a bill that was from an expense that happened in 2024. You know, some medical bills, they just go through insurance and take a long time to actually get to you. So it could have been a 2024 expense that you're just now paying in 2025. And you use your card for it and it's not eligible because it was from last year. Well, you have a couple of ways to rectify that. Sending the documentation won't help since it's not an eligible expense. So you can either repay it, which we have an easy way for you to do that electronically. You can do that in your participant portal through the ACH repayment form, or you can send a check to ASI Flex and we add that amount back to your account and back onto your card balance. We send that money back to LACCD. So that's paying it back. Or you can send a replacement claim, which would be for any other eligible expense that you haven't yet paid or that you paid out of pocket. And as long as it's for at least that amount, $149 in this case, in our example, then it would clear that expense. It does not have to be for the exact same thing that you use your card for. It just needs to be for that same amount or more.
Okay. Say for instance, you've submitted the documentation. How do you know that the card is no longer suspended?
The fastest way is to check your account, your participant portal. You can log in and it will show you the status of your debit card, but it will also show you if any documentation is required.
Okay. And cancer insurance premiums, why are they not eligible?
Insurance premiums are not FSA eligible. Insurance premiums of any kind are not eligible for reimbursement. If they're payroll deducted, they can be deducted pre-tax, but they're not reimbursement eligible.
And premiums for our district, so everyone will know, is paid at 100%. So it's not really an issue for you. Even if you retire, you can retire after 20 years with a contribution of 100% of the premiums in retirement through the district. If you meet all of the eligibility requirements. To get more information on that, again, I put the number to the health benefits unit as well as their email address. You can reach out to them. Please be aware that the amount of money that you will receive on your HRA FSA is all the same cards, your health card, a health dollars card that you can use for medical, vision, and dental expenses. Um, Please be aware that that amount is approved every year or has to go before the Board of Trustees for approval every year. And once it is approved, that amount is automatically added in January to your card by the Health Benefits Unit. And it is managed, your card reimbursements are managed through ASI Flex. So they have nothing to do with the amount of money you get on your card um, for the HRA. For the FSA, you must re-elect every year that you want to have money withheld for your FSA account or your dependent care account for eligible expenses. And so you'll get more information about this coming up pretty soon because open enrollment starts September 15th through October 10th. And you'll be getting notifications as to more Zoom calls where Andy will come back and talk to us again. And we'll have the health fairs. And hopefully, Andy, this year you can send someone if you can't come yourself for the health fairs at all of our 10 work sites. I hope that that helps everyone. There was one question I just saw. Does the $1,500 HRA apply to a person when they're 65? If you're 65, you will no longer receive the 1,500 in retirement if you are in retirement. But if you're still working for the district, you will still get that 1,500 on your card because you are an active employee. The cutoff of at age 65 is only when you go into retirement. So if you retire at age 70, whatever's left on that card is what you get to use. You will not get another 1,500 the next year in your retirement. Just be aware of that, okay? But if you have funds remaining, you can use them, okay, until they're spent down. 65 in retirement is the cutoff time. Did I say that well enough and clear enough, Andy? We have 1 minute to close.
Yes, you said that very well. Yeah,
Okay,
hopefully
good.
we got to all of the questions, but if not, please reach out. ASIFlex.com, as I mentioned, is a great resource. You can get lots of answers there. You can also find our phone number to give us a call. Just while I'm here, somebody had a question about how they would know if their card was reactivated. You can check the debit card status here on your portal. If it says active, it's active. You can also look to see if you have any required documentation, because there's a column over here for each of your accounts. It will say whether documentation is required. It will say yes or no. So all of mine's taken care of right now. So mine's saying no. But if you have one that says yes, then you can also just click that. It will be hyperlinked, and you can upload the documentation right there. So super easy to do. Sure, thank
Okay.
you for letting me come and share with you today. I feel like we did get a lot of questions answered, but
Yes.
please reach out to us if you did not get your question answered.
Thank you. Everyone, please expect the PowerPoint along with the video by next week.
Sure, just
All
let me
right.
know if you can't find your copy of that, and I'll resend it, Katrina.
Sounds wonderful. Have a great weekend, Angie. Everyone else, have a wonderful weekend and get ready. Open enrollment is coming very soon.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Exciting times. Bye-bye, everyone.